Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Taylor, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to hand wash your clothes, hand wash your crocheted garments, and I'm going to be showing you how I block my garments. So we got a lot going on in this video. The main thing is teaching you how to wash intimates and your crochet garments, because that can be difficult. Not everything that you hand make can go in the washer dryer, and it is actually so easy to hand wash your clothing, and I think that it is a very good thing to kind of have in your back pocket. So, what I'm going to be washing today, this is the first piece. This is actually just a bodysuit. So I wore this to a concert a little bit ago, and it just needs to be washed. I was jumping around getting all sweaty. So I'm going to hand wash this because it is from Shein. And if I throw that in the washing machine, it will probably disintegrate, and I don't want it to do that, right? Okay, so the next thing is my snowball sweater. So this is a crochet sweater that I made last fall. I actually do have a tutorial for this on my YouTube channel. So if you're interested in making one like this, I made this with Lion Brand Wool Ease, not the thick and quick stuff, as you can see, but it is 20% wool, 80% acrylic. And I am not sure if it is washing machine safe. I almost said dishwasher safe. I don't know if it's washing machine safe, and I want to make sure that this is something I can wear for a long time. I did wear it to a lot of my trade shows this season, and she just needs to be a little fresher. And this last piece is actually a brown sweater that I made a long time ago when I actually lived in Rapid. So over a year ago now. And I want to block this to see if it can kind of become something that I want to wear more often. When we wash and block things, specifically with wool, they bloom a little bit better. They become a little bit softer, a little less harsh, because this is made with Lion Brand Fisherman wool. So it's a 100% undyed natural wool. So I'm going to be washing and blocking this. So what you will need for the washing and the blocking is you will need, first off, a soap. So today I'm going to be using the Soak Celebration wool wash, and this is designed specifically for wool, and it's also marketed towards lingerie, intimates, things that you wouldn't want to put in the washing machine. I like using it for my lingerie pieces, but if you don't have that, don't want to go spend the money, that's perfectly fine. I also use the 7th generation sensitive skin. This is what works for me. I do kind of have sensitive skin, and at Walmart they didn't put this in cages, so I was just able to grab it and go. So just saying, with this you don't have to rinse your garments, and you don't get a really sticky, crusty soap. With this, you have to be very careful not to overuse, and you do in fact have to make sure you properly rinse your garments. So I will not be using this today, but I have used it in the past. For stuff like this, it works perfectly fine. Next, you're going to need towels. So when it comes to the crocheted garments, they're going to be sopping wet because you have to soak them, right? And so then you're going to wrap them up so that they can dry a little bit. So you'll need towels. Because I'm going to be blocking, the blocking portion of the video will be at the end. So if you're just here to learn how to wash your stuff, this won't impede that. So I do have a set of blocking mats. I got these as a Christmas present, and I got some extra pins also as a Christmas present. And then the final thing is you need somewhere to wash these garments. So I actually am going to be using this little black tub thing. I got this from the dollar store. A lot of people will fill up their tubs, like a bathtub. I don't want to use that much water because I'm going to be doing these things separately. I feel kind of weird about putting them all together. Not sure why. Doesn't seem right to me. It's just how my brain works. Also, with the lingerie piece, you're going to want a hanger of some sort. So with all of that out of the way, don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel for more how-tos. Let me know in the comments below if there's any further questions, comments, concerns that you have. And let's just hop in. So the first thing that I'm going to be washing is the bodysuit. Again, I'm using the Soak Wool and Intimates wash. Make sure that you are using warm water. I am not sure whether or not if you use cold water, if that will impact it. But so I just fill up the bucket, put a little squirt in there. You really don't need a lot. This soap can be a little bit expensive, so don't feel like you have to use a ton of it. And as you can see, it foams up just so. Once that is done, you're just going to stick your garment in there and let it soak. So I kind of like to agitate it just a little bit to try and get everything soaked in there. And then you just let it sit for 15 to 20 minutes. This is after I've let it sit. So then we just take it out and we try to squeeze out as much as we can. Because this is mesh, there's not as much to squish out. And then we just hang it up to dry. So now we're going to be going on to the snowball sweater. Now remember, I'm not going to be blocking this one. This is just going to be washing. So similar process, warm water, add the soap. So once that's all done, I know that it looks like the pail is kind of overflowing, but trust me, I did need this much water. I just had to slowly feed the sweater in. Wool can take on a ton of water. So as we can see, I'm just putting it in, I'm submerging it, making sure that everything is nice and soaked. So after I've let it sit for about 15 to 20 minutes, this is when the process can get really labor intensive when it comes to hand washing garments. So as you can see, it was like barely submerged anymore when it was done. So now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to squeeze out as much water as possible while it is still in the pail. And as you can see, I could only get so far, but do you see all the water that is still coming out? The wool just really sucks it all up. So I'm just trying to squeeze out as much as humanly possible. And as you can see, I had to get into the tub. It's really a full body thing. Maybe you need to have someone help you with this. It can be, like I said, pretty labor intensive. I was sweating and huffing and puffing during this whole thing. And really try to get at your sleeves and stuff. I've noticed a lot of liquid can like pool in the sleeves when it seems like the body can't like squeeze anymore. There's always more in the sleeves. And so now you just take a towel, lay it on the ground, and go grab your garment. And what you're gonna do is, just lay your garment down, really doesn't matter. I mean, lay it flat, right? And then you're just going to burrito it up and stomp on it. Stomp on it as much as possible. Your towel is going to soak through. It'll get wet very, very fast. I recommend if you have a lot of different towels in your home, do this like twice with 2 dry towels. I unfortunately did not have enough towels to be able to do this twice. But if I were to do it again, maybe I would space things out and do it like that. Then it wouldn't take as much time to dry. But this is kind of just getting more of that excess water out. Okay, I know this angle is weird. Bear with me. I'm in the other bathroom because it was getting hot in the first one. As you can see, we have washed 2 of our 3 garments. I figured you understood the fill the bucket with kind of lukewarm water and then let it soak for 15 to 20 minutes. So this one right here, it has boning in it. So obviously I can't wrap that in a towel and stomp on it. That would ruin the garment. Because this is made of mesh, I didn't really feel like it needed to be rolled up. It's going to dry relatively quickly and I'm not worried about it. This one, on the other hand, do not be surprised if your garments are sopping wet and super heavy when they come out. You can see here, because I'm not blocking this one, I'm just giving it a wash. Because things that are made with wool, they don't really need to be washed as often. They still need to be washed, just not as often. Be aware that you probably want to keep your fans running in your bathroom at like all times. So I have it turned off right now so that I can talk to you, but the minute I walk out of here, that's getting flipped on. Also, if you are, washing things that have wool in them, 1, they're going to take a long time to dry. It's just going to, that's just the name of the game. Wool holds a lot of water. 2, wool also smells. This wool and then the wool in the other sweater that I'm going to be blocking and showing you that process are not superwash merino wool. So it does smell a little bit like a farm in there, and that's okay because it's a natural fiber that comes from animals. I just wanted to hang this up. Now, normally when I'm like storing this bad boy, she's just folded up. Because I have these puff stitches on here, I don't really want to block it because I'm worried that the puff stitches, what I mean by block, you'll see what I mean by blocking, like really stretching it out. I am worried that these puff stitches will lose their dimension. And the whole point is the kind of texture of them. But she just needed, you know, I'd been putting body spray on her, I wear deodorant, you know, all of those things. She just needed a little bit of freshness. Yeah. So just a few things to keep in mind when you're doing this. So if you were only looking on how to wash your garments, that's the end of this portion of the video. The next portion is going to be how to block. So if this is the end of the road for our journey today, thank you so much for watching. And next we'll get into blocking. So now I am taking my blocking squares, and this was actually my second round of trying to block this sweater. I had done a big square before, and it clearly did not work out. I needed more room for the sleeves. So this was the shape that I had decided on. So blocking can be really intimidating if you haven't done it before, but I promise after your first time doing it, you're like, oh my God, that's so much easier than I thought it would be. So right now I'm just positioning the sweater in the best way that I felt possible. I do think that I might need more blocking squares just because I'm a bit more mid-size. My sweaters end up being a bit bigger. I think I just need some extra room, but that's a problem for a later date. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my pins, and I have these multi-pronged big pins, and I start at the bottom and I pull, down, and I make sure it's straight. And then on the sides, I pull outward. So that's what helps give it a little bit of drape. That's what helps, when people say like, oh, when you block, it grows. That's how that happens, because people are stretching their garments out. And I promise it doesn't dry wonky. It doesn't make it look really weird once the pins are taken out. So then I'm just pulling upward near the neck. As you can see how the tension is starting to pull. So we have the body all done, and what I tend to do is just the upper portions of my sleeves. I don't block the wrist portions. Like I said, I just don't have enough blocking tools to do something like that, but I've never had a problem with not blocking the bottom parts of my sleeves near my wrists and hands. I just make sure to do the armpit area and the upper bicep portion, and I've never had a problem. So I always use all my pins and just make sure that she is real stationary. And then this is what she ended up looking like when I had all of the pins in her. And so now I just set her up next to a fan. Oh, look at Essie. A box I fits, I sits, man. So this was a couple days later after it had dried. You just take all the pins out, put them back to make sure nobody gets hurt from them. Because this is a 100% wool sweater, it did take about 3 days for this to fully dry. I know that I'm wearing the exact same outfit. Washing machines exist. I use mine very often. So you basically just take all of the pins out. I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. Okay, hi. It is a few days later, and my garments are finally dry. So one thing is when you're washing your garments, especially when you're, soaking them, and, you can wring them out as much as you want, they're gonna take a while to dry. That's just the way it goes. So here's what the brown sweater kind of looks like. It bloomed really, really nicely. The only thing I made this before I know more. I feel like I'm always learning and growing. So one thing that I would change is clearly the way that I did the sleeves is a little funky because it kind of billows out a little bit more. That means that I had more rows than needed for the ribbing. But then on the bottom, it's actually quite tight, and I'm not quite sure why. but I do think that I can wear this sweater in the winter time and definitely be warm and, you know, maybe fashionable. I really like the way that the neck bloomed out here. I think that that turned out really, really well. And then here's the washed pink sweater. I mean, because I didn't block this along with it, there's really not going to be any sort of changes. One thing that is really nice is the wool was, well, the yarn on here was actually starting to look a little bit dingy because I hadn't washed it in a while, and now I do feel like it's looking nice and bright again, and my little bobbles are still nice and poofy, which is how I like it. So, and then the lingerie, that dried in a matter of hours since it was like mesh, so that was really easy. But I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to the channel for more content like this. If you have any further questions about blocking or washing your garments, leave them in the comments below and I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. I am not a perfect being, but I do feel like I've learned a few tips and tricks along the way that I wanted to share with you guys. So thank you so much for watching today, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.